Hello dear viewers, it's Nick here, and I'm going to give you a walkthrough of Niseko. It's a new synth from Mono. It's an additive synth, and I'm gonna put time steps because it's probably gonna be a bit of a longish walkthrough. We're gonna play around with knobs. I'm gonna explain what it does, and we're basically gonna hear some examples from presets. So before we get started, let me give you a little bit of background what Niseko is and how it came about. It's a little bit of a parallel universe synth for me because I basically imagined this as something that was made in the 80s, but with modern sensibilities like MPE, like modern sound, and requirements for the sound as well. But the thing that makes it a little bit of old school is that it uses a 12-bit resolution for the oscillators. It doesn't make much sense to do this now, but I really like this texture that oscillator creates. It doesn't have a huge amount of anti-aliasing, so some aliasing is creeping through, which I think works pretty well. So yeah, it's a little bit of what-if scenario. What if synth, an additive synth, was created in the 80s using the technology that was available back there. As I said, it's an additive synth with 24 partials, and you can think of partial as a separate oscillator which plays at specific frequency. So the very first thing is the preset management. It's the same that on Maya. You can like jump around different presets. The fundamental is dedicated to specifically the wave shapes that oscillators have, the modulation or frequency modulation, FM, or like in more technical terms, it's a phase modulation, but it's roughly the same thing. And also wave folding. Further down the road, it's slope, interval, and this little moon here is actually glide between notes. The interface is quirky because I really wanted to make it sort of a bit unfamiliar, a little bit of a vibe synth rather than something you expect it to do something that you already know. So it invites you to play around, but it also explains what actually is happening. If you are familiar with how sound is created, you're going to be feeling pretty confident after a few hours with it. So slope and interval, it actually shows you. So if you let me explain a little bit what additive synthesis is. So if you think about sound, let's start with something like Mono 1 or Maya. It's a subtractive synth. So what it does, it takes a rich oscillator, a rich wave, and then using filters you can cut some of the frequencies off from the top or from the bottom. So what additive synthesis does, instead of generating like very rich, harmonically rich wave from the beginning, it actually has, let's say, 24 oscillators, and they're placed so that each frequency is sort of the step of each frequency can be changed. So you have 24 oscillators which play at different frequencies, which are complementary to the tone you've selected. Well, when I say complementary, it can actually do two things. So it can be harmonic, like with like a regular like triangle or sawtooth, but it can also be inharmonic. So you can place it at inharmonic intervals. I'm going to explain this a little bit later. So this sort of shows how each level of each partial is going to look like, and that's, as I said, 24 partials, so you can see them here, and slope changes the level of each one of them, with the first being the tonic you've selected. So interval is an interesting thing because you can change the relationships between those oscillators, between the partials. So at 1, it basically like a regular like 1-to-1, where it's like if you play 100 Hz sound, it's going to be 200, 300, 400, and so on. But you can also do an inharmonic with something between 1 and 0, and something between 1 and 2 as well. And 2 is going to be like only odd harmonics. So let's try a little bit of demo, and then we can continue further. So let's set the very simple preset, just a simple sine wave. You can see slope at 0, so you can only hear the tonic. So this sounds like a pretty regular, like sine wave oscillator. So let's explain shape a little bit. So what shape does, it allows you to continuously change between the sine wave, triangle, and a sawtooth. So if you have just a single oscillator playing, by changing shape, you're going to change the wave shape. So here you can see, and I'm gonna zoom in on the spectrum analyzer so you can see what like harmonics are doing. So this is a sine wave. Oh, I'm playing a chord. Hold on. There you go. So that's a single note, and you can see there's like a little something here, but it's just from the output because it has some saturation, so it produces a little bit of harmonics, but it's barely audible. So you can see there's just a little bit. I'm gonna so it's very pure, just a sine wave. So let's change to the triangle. So you can see a triangle, you can see odd harmonics add into the signal. If we go to even further to the sawtooth, you can hear the sound is changing as well, becomes a little bit more sharp. So let's play a chord. So this is sine, triangle, and sawtooth. You can hear it becomes like a little bit buzzy. So let's move on to the slope before we touch on the mod and wave folding. So what slope does, when you play a note, it changes the levels of the additional oscillator, the levels of each partials. So you can hear the difference. It becomes a little bit buzzier, brighter, and that's what shape and slope does. But let's touch a little bit on the mod. So we have a simple sine wave. And if we add mod, it basically pushes modulation from second and third partials, but it's based on the level you can see here when you regulate the slope. So if the slope is at 0 and we tune the mod up, you can hear there's no modulation, but if you up the slope a little bit, so you can hear the modulation is coming from the second and third into the first one. It becomes a little bit like a brighter, a little bit noisier sound. So let's touch on the fold. You can combine those and like in any proportion, whatever you like. But I think the fun part comes when you modulate with envelope or the LFO, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later. So let's touch a little bit on the glide. So this is basically the glide amount. So when it's barely there, it's at 0, and the full moon becomes like a full glide. So let's try this. So that's pretty simple, and let's now talk about the interval. And I'm going to turn the chords for a bit. So and let's change the interval. Let's go down a little bit. So you can hear it becomes inharmonic. So instead of one-to-one relationships like you have in like a simple triangle wave or a sawtooth wave, it becomes different and it sounds inharmonic. So let's go a little bit up. So it sounds like bell, basically. And you can combine I think the interesting thing comes when you can combine the natural harmonics, which come from the wave shape itself, where it's very natural sounding, like everyone is sort of used to, and you combine it with inharmonic intervals. So it sort of becomes a dirtier sound, and it becomes sometimes difficult to distinguish what specific notes you're playing, but I think it works really nice. And I was surprised how well it sounds and how similar it sounds to my favorite IDM records, like Blade, like Boards of Canada and stuff like this. It's an FX Twin. So I feel that's an interesting combination you can play around as well. So let's touch a little bit on this course thing that I have here. Let's choose, for example, the cascades. That's one of the presets. Let's turn expressive chords. So what happens with course is that it not just places partials on a stereo field, it also modulates them with two LFOs. Partials which play above specific frequency, like more in a mid to high frequencies, will be modulated slightly quicker than the ones in the lower frequencies. So you get a little bit of the Leslie speaker effect, which I think sounds really nice. So let's listen to it. So that's very nice. It also has a fan control which narrows the lower frequency sound, so you get like a narrower lower frequencies, yet wider high frequencies. So you can hear there's some width is still present in your sound, but if you want mid to be more focused, that's the way to go. So that's pretty much it. You can see the animation also shows you like how the slopes look like, how they work, the relationships between each partial. So it gives you like a visual information to what is actually happening underneath, and it will clue you in like what exactly is going on. And it also has this fun animation of skiers going down the slope. I think it's fun. So let's jump to the elevation, and that's an ADSR classic envelope with 4 stages, and surface is the LFO, which also is pretty simple and straightforward with some additional things. So elevation, the envelope is pretty simple. There's nothing to particularly explain, but let's... It sounds very natural. I really like it. I think it's the same envelope with slight modification from Mono 1. I really like it, and I think it's very, very versatile. And the LFO is pretty simple as well. So you can sync or unsync. So you have free running LFO, which goes from 0.1 hertz to 30 hertz. So it goes into audio territory as well. And you can sync it to your tempo in the Ableton session, and it also has a continuously variable form as well. So it goes from sine wave to triangle to square wave, and you can basically mix them in between, whatever feels best for you. And I think the kind of secret sauce, and I think it's secret sauce to all synthesizers, but I really like the modulation part. So we've got 6 modulation destinations. This top half on the blue background is dedicated to the envelope destinations, and the bottom part is to LFO. And I'm going to start with envelope, and let's try some examples. So we've got like a pure synth, and the envelope destination can be tuned to positive or negative values. So let's take, for example, shape. So you can hear it becomes a little bit sharper on the attack, but then it goes down. And you can also do the opposite. For example, we have a solid shape, like pretty buzzy. And you can make it to the negative side, so it goes to the triangle before going back to the sawtooth. All right, so let's try this. Let's say with modulation, we need to up the slope a little bit. Or let's go to negative. I think it's pretty fun. It also can be done with frequency, shape, FM, folding, slope, and interval. And interval can become very chaotic, so you have to kind of be aware of it. So let's try that. But it still can be very, very fun. So envelope is pretty straightforward, and I think I've got some pretty nice surprises for you when it comes to the LFO. And I've got this idea from the Meyer, from working on Juno, and it has this very simple delay control, which allows you to delay the LFO routing a little bit based on the slope. So it builds up to the full amplitude of LFO over time. So I've got this idea, and I kind of tried to reimagine it. So it's there. So let's hear how it sounds. Let's say with shape. There, and the way ramp works, you can set it that it builds up over time, let's say like 2 seconds, and 2000 milliseconds is around 2 seconds. So you can hear it builds up over time, but you can also do a negative where it starts with full amplitude but then kind of goes down. And you can combine those things between, like, mix and match different LFOs, different routings, and you can combine like one builds and one kind of goes down. So let's do like 2 seconds. So you you can hear it starts with one sort of modulation, then it gradually goes into a different one. So it provides a lot of room for like sound design, I think, and it creates this like very playable synth, which I really enjoy. So let's listen to some examples. Let's listen to some presets, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of backgrounds, like what they do. So that's the first initial. Actually, let me do something else. I'm gonna use this this version of Niseko, and I'm gonna use a new device from Philipp Meyer. You can look him up at meyerdevices.com, called Tessella. It's like a sequencer which is very flexible and very fun to play with. It's an amazing device. Give it a look, and I'm gonna use that to give you a little bit variability on how it sounds. So let's listen to that. I've got some chords playing. So let's listen to some presets. That's initial. That's like a very batty sound, like they sound like bad stabs. And let me actually turn Tessella in, because I really like it. One thing I really like is actually getting intervals somewhere close to 0 or 2, like 1.98 or 0.0102. Add a little bit modulation on the interval from the LFO. It kind of gets this nice drifty sound, which I really enjoy. I think it's better to use pads here. I really like this one. Yeah, that's a little bit inharmonic. You can hear it's in the sound. There are inharmonic frequencies playing on top of harmonic frequencies, so it becomes this sort of a little bit of messy sound. this one is really Inharmonic. So if you're into some kind of very grungy, like dirty stuff, it can be very fun to play with. Oh, I really like this one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's Niseko, an additive synth from Mono. Feel free to ask your questions. You can add comments, or you can write me on Instagram, or you can send your questions directly through Isotonic. Niseko is available on Isotonic for you to buy and enjoy. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what you guys can do with it. I've spent with it like probably 6 or 7 months, and I'm yet to kind of find an end to the sound it can actually provide. A lot of interesting stuff is hidden in there, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you guys. That's pretty much it. Bye.